Hello and welcome back again. If you look at the website, this is the development version of the Search CPAN or clone. Here we have these numbers. These are the statistical numbers from Search CPAN.org. This is the Search CPAN.org has the numbers. We copied them from there. But what we did is we just copied the fixed numbers, and we should now make some changes in order to show the numbers from MetaCPAN. And there are going to be two steps. One of them is fetching the data from MetaCPAN, and the other one is displaying it. Now, because this data is on every page, it's probably better not to fetch them on every request. After all, these numbers are not that important to be up to date, and they're not changing every second anyway. So we can just fetch this data. We can use either caching, or we can just use a cron job and then fetch the data, save it in some local file, and then serve it from that local file. And then once in a while, once an hour, once a day, it doesn't really matter, we call this script again and update the data. So in the first part, we're going to see how to fetch the data from MetaCPAN. If you visit the MetaCPAN website, that is the main website, at the bottom there is a link to the API, which leads to the documentation of and some examples of the API, but it has been actually moved into, this was a wiki page, and this has been moved into the repository itself now. So you can scroll down here and have lots of examples of queries. So there are these endpoints, the distribution, the release, the author, the module, pod, and the number of endpoints that we can ask for various data. And then there are various examples here how to fetch data. I already prepared the one that we probably need. So let me copy paste it from somewhere else and see how it works on the console. So here we are in the console, and I copy it. This is the request. It goes to the MetaCPAN API, and it says that from the authors request, search the authors, and the size should be 0, so it's going to show the total number of hits, basically. I run it. This went out to MetaCPAN and fetched the data, and it returned a JSON, a string. This is a string, a JSON string. You can see that there's a column separating the keys and the values. And within the JSON string, there is basically a major hash where there are objects in JSON talk. But once we convert it to Perl, that's going to be a hash. Within there is the hits key, and within there is the total. And this is probably the number that we need. In addition to author, we can also use other keys here. We can use the distribution key, for example, and it will return the number of distributions. Here it's total, the hits total, which is 36,000. And then there's also the module that we can use. So we can use the same with module, and that will return a number. And the total uploads I couldn't find. I'm not sure actually. This number looks much bigger than what is displayed on Search CPAN. So we'll have to further research exactly how to display numbers similar to what Search CPAN.org does. But for now, it's I think a good step to do the first thing that we fetch from MetaCPAN, display that, and later refine the process and the exact actual request. Now, we need to fetch this data, and as I mentioned, I don't want to have it in the main code, and I want to have it in a separate script. And for that script, we can actually create a module. That module will hold the content of the major part of the code, and the script will just launch that module. So the script, let's create the script first. The script should be really simple. Fetch PL, just use strict, use warnings. It doesn't really need. We don't really need this because the script is going to be almost empty. But I'm sort of so used to them that I prefer to write them, even if I know that I don't really need it. So now we can load the module itself. We are going to call it, let's say, fetch, and then once we loaded that module, then we can going to have to call its run function, and we'll need to provide the the path to the current directory, to where it's going to store the file, that it needs to store the file. And the way we can do that is we did a similar thing already. So we use the file variable that holds the name of the current file, and then from the CWD module we use the abs path to get the absolute path of this directory. And because this is from this file, and because this is inside the bin directory, the dir name function will return the directory name. This is the bin directory, and then another call to dir name will return the root of the project, and enough closing parentheses will help. And of course we have to load the functions, so abs pass and use file base name, dir name. So basically that's it. We can also tell it to use the lib directory, so it will be able to find the module once we create it. So this is the script that hopefully works correctly. And then we need to create the SCO directory. So within that directory we can create the module lib MetaCPAN SCO fetch PM. This is going to be the module. And as usual, we start with package MetaCPAN SCO fetch, use strict use warnings, just strict use warnings, and we are closing it with 1. And then let's see. So we are implementing the subroutine, which is called run, which is going to get the self, the object, or probably that's the class now, and the path to the root. So this is the root directory. And then we're going to create a hash called totals. And that's where we are going to save the data fetched from the API. And at the end, once we have this, we take this. So we use the pass function. We can import from pass tiny. So we pass tiny. We import the pass function. And with this pass function, we get the file where we want to save. So it's totals JSON. This is in the root directory of our project. That's where we're going to save the file. So this locates basically the file. And then there is this function that I can't even pronounce. It's the opposite of slurp, basically. So it takes a string and saves in the file in UTF-8 encoding. And to that, we take the totals and we convert it to JSON. So to JSON, and we take the totals. We are using, we don't really need to have JSON here, but we are using JSON because that's just a well-known format and it's easy to convert back and forth JSON, and we are on the web. So why not use it? Why not use the JSON? So this is the file. This is the data that after we fetched from MetaCPAN, we save it in this file in JSON format, and then we are going to have our main code load this file every time a user asks for a page. Obviously, the to JSON needs to be received from somewhere, so we have to get the use JSON, and we get the to JSON. And I know that there are better JSON modules than this one, faster ones, but for now it's going to work fine. So that's how we're going to save the file once we have the data. Now we have the data. So let's go back to the console. If you recall, this was the request, right? This was the request, and it had three keys that we used. So we have to go over for each my name, go over the keys, those keys, and for each key we have to create this URL, and the key is going to be here, the name. Okay, so these names were, if I recall, author, distribution, and module. It's not in plural, it's in singular, but because it's fetching one piece of information basically, or a list of it. Anyway, these are the endpoints on the MetaCPAN API, and we're going over all the three that I found and going to fetch these URLs. So we're going to use the get function from LWP simple. Use LWP simple. Yeah, it's really simple and it doesn't have provide really good error checking and so on. But we are interested to getting started and to see that this works. And then later we can improve the code if we really want it, if we really need something more powerful. So this will fetch the page, which is supposed to be that JSON file we saw on the console that curl received to us. So we put it into a variable called JSON. And then we use the from JSON function imported again from the JSON module to convert this JSON structure into some kind of Perl data. So we also need to have the from JSON imported there. And then once we have this data, then we can take the totals hash and fill in the key. So we have the name, which is the key. This is the author distribution or module. And that's where we're going to store the data from this hash. And we could store the whole structure, but we're only interested in the number. In that number, and if you recall, that was there was a main hash with the key called hits, and within there was a key, another hash with a key called total, and that was what was the number. So now what we have here is that we go over the three words, fetch the data from MetaCPAN API, which is JSON structure, convert it to Perl structure, and fetch a single value from that structure. And once we have this new hash, we are saving it in a file. And that's it. I think we have to close this the curly braces. And then I think if we can run the script now, it doesn't seem to do anything except that now we have a totals JSON file with all the data inside. And here are the numbers that we saw. And now the next step is going to be to display this information on the web pages. Of course, we don't want to fetch this data only once. We probably want to put this call to this bin fetch.pl into a cron job and to run it every hour or once a day.